Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mount this in place of this piece here. So, looks like there's 3 screws we have to take out of it. Put a lot of thought in these units. I don't think there's too much that you could do to improve them. Down on there. There, that's better. There we go. Now the only thing I don't like is those are loose in there, so I'm going to have to figure out what I can do to tighten those up. That's not hitting in there properly. You can see how it's offset there. This side's a little better, but it's still not tight enough to hold it. I think what I might have to do, which I had to do on the factory one here, I took some double-sided tape and put in there. You can see on the end of this piece here, so it would push tighter down onto that. So let me try that and see if that'll take care of it. Okay, what I ended up doing to fix my little problem with these being sloppy loose in there, I just put a couple of layers of double-sided tape on there. I didn't even peel the plastic. I thought that let it slip a little bit easier on there. And you can see now they're tight. Wherever you put them, they'll stay in place. So they're going to be flopping around. That way you can adjust them and they'll stay there. So it's an easy fix. No big deal. I think that's really the first thing I ran into on this system that didn't fit real well. So anyway, that takes care of that part. So we'll move on to the next part. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is they provided templates again. I cut them out. One will tape to this side of the opening in the firewall. The other one will tape this side, and I've got to drill 2 3/8 holes through the firewall. And then also down below, there's another template I got to put up here, up above, right here. If I can show you that. It's got to go against this piece right here and come out this way, and it gets 2 holes drilled in it here. So I have to tape all those into position. Once I get them taped into position, then we'll drill the holes. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and, well, that didn't work very good. I'm going to go ahead and drill these holes. Not a whole lot of room in here to work. Okay. Got those 2 drilled. Okay. Drill these out. One. And that's 2. Knock my camera over. Okay, that should be all the holes out there. Okay, the next thing we need to do is the evaporator installation, which is this whole assembly here. And there's a few things we have to bolt onto it first before we can put it in the car. There's a evaporator front bracket, and then there's this rear plenum. And then something I didn't realize when I was unboxing everything, this was in the box. And my first thought was, well, it's just a piece of trash somebody threw in there, left over a bag or something. And I almost threw it away, and I thought, well, I better wait just to make sure, because it is kind of a heavy plastic. And here in the instructions, it says place polyethylene sheet over the stepper motors. There's 3 stepper motors here on top of the unit, and they want you to cover it with this polyethylene sheet. Now, it doesn't say how to attach it or how much to cover it, if it should be sealed solid or just draped over it or what. So I'm going to double check in the instructions, make sure it doesn't say anything about that. I didn't see anything, but I just want to make sure that it doesn't have like have to have a vent in it or something like that. But I don't see anywhere where it says that. So I'm guessing, and maybe that's not the right word to use, but I'm guessing that should be just to maybe keep the dust and dirt out of those stepper motors. I don't know how critical that is, but it must be something if they're wanting you to cover it. I don't know why they didn't make like a plastic cover to go over it, but anyway, what I think I'm going to do is I've got some of that aluminum tape that I used earlier under the car. I think I might tape it on there with that. That stuff sticks really good, and you can form it to where it seals 100%. So I think that's what I'll do. The system does have an ECU on it right here. That's where you plug your wires in to connect the power and the switches and everything to operate this. So it is computerized, and with the stepper motors, I'm assuming that operates the different vents to direct the airflow to different parts of the car. So anyway, it looks to me like all the vents are on it already. The only thing I'm going to have to do is put that bracket, mount this bracket here on it, and put this polyethylene sheet over the stepper motors. I'm assuming it just kind of goes like that. Kind of like that. So I'm going to put the mount this bracket on first. Let's see. So, okay, so it goes like that. So I got to take this bolt and this bolt out, and that goes back in place of that. So let me get some tools. If I could tuck that behind that. That'll hold this end down anyway. So I have a line coming out of here, I have a line coming out here, and a line coming out of each one of these. So what I need to figure out is which line is which here. Okay, so let's start with this top one here. I think this is it. It should be, there's my O-rings for these. This is number 2, which is 09151. Okay, so that's the one that goes up here. So let's put it on first. The first hard line we have to hook into the box. I've got it just hand tight on there. So I have 3 more to put in here. And you look at the next one I want to put on. It's this little small one coming back here. It is the 09150. So you find that line. 09150. So this is the next line that goes in, and it'll go in just like that, I believe. Let's see. No, it'll go in like that. That's kind of odd. Okay. So anyway, when I took this loose here to take this line in, this whole system here was pressurized with nitrogen gas to keep moisture and dirt and stuff out of it. So when I first loosened it up, you could hear it hiss and expel that nitrogen gas. So system should be good and clean, and you want to leave all the caps on all this until you start putting lines to it. And even as you put lines to it, you still want to leave the caps on the other end of the lines until you hook lines into here, so it's still sort of sealed. And then it's very important to remember all these joints on the tube end, it takes an O-ring down against his shoulder, these green O-rings. So you want to make sure you put those on because they're not on there, they're in little bags. So you want to put the O-ring down over there like that. Be careful so you don't cut it on that edge. It is kind of sharp there. I can't believe they don't deburr that a little bit. And then they provide a tube of mineral oil. So just put a little shot of mineral oil on there. On that O-ring like that, just lubricate it. And I like to put a couple of drops on the threads themselves down here because some of these are going together and you don't want them to gall. So when you put this in here, I don't know how well this is going to show up on this one. Let me lower that camera. But you want to be sure to put that lip that's sticking up there, there's a little counter bore in there and a little place for the O-ring to nest. You want to put that up in there, make sure it's up in there before you slide that nut up, because if you don't have it up in there and you start tightening it in, you could damage the line or cut that O-ring and then it won't seal right. So you want to hold that line up tight where it's got to go and then get the nut started on it. And it should thread on there fairly easy. This one's fighting me. But see, it goes right on once you get it started. You shouldn't have to force it or anything. If you do, you need to take that back off and double check. Make sure you're not pinching an O-ring or you're cross-threading it or something. Very important you don't damage any of these fittings, and don't over-tighten them either. Okay, so the next one I want to put on is 09153. And that's this one right here. And it goes on the bottom one here. So I'm going to put it on first. Okay. These aren't quite as critical because this is for the heater core. Again, you still want to be very careful. You'll make sure you put the O-rings in there. You make sure you put the mineral oil on them. You line them up, tighten them down. But this is going to have antifreeze flowing through it. This is the heater core part of the system. So again, you want to put that O-ring down on there like that. Give a little coat of mineral oil just to lubricate that. So as you tighten it down, it doesn't pinch or bind, that it pulls down nice where it needs to go. A little bit of oil on the threads. And then again, when you get it on there, make sure it's started on there straight. You can kind of see that O-ring kind of goes down. You can't, about half of it's disappeared. It's in a little pocket. And then just kind of start it on there and just hand tighten it, okay? Tighten it down as far as you can by hand. That way that O-ring can't come out. And you can still rotate this a little bit to line it up, because you're going to have to line these up. We'll get ready to put them through the the firewall. Okay, so the last one it should be a 09152. Okay, and that goes in the upper one here like that. Okay, so we'll do the same thing here. We'll pull the cap off. Pull the plug out again. Put the O-ring on. A little bit of mineral oil. Don't need a whole lot. Just enough to lubricate that O-ring. A little bit on the threads. Line it up. It goes right on like that. You don't have to force it. And again, when you get ready to tighten these down, sorry about that. When you get ready to tighten these down, you want to put a wrench on both sides so you're not twisting on this pipe. If you tighten this down without putting a wrench here, you're going to twist this off and crack it or bend it, cause it to start leaking. So you want to be very careful of that when you do that. I don't like, I just don't like how they got the things going through there, because all these have to fit through. Okay, this gets the smaller grommet in the bottom, the big hole in the bottom, and then this goes in the top. Like that. And this goes towards the engine. Okay, so this big hose here should go through that, and then these smaller hoses should go through down here. So in theory, if I line those up so those all hit like that, we should be okay. Right? Famous last words. Okay, like that. So I should be able to tighten these all down now. So let me get a couple of wrenches and we'll get them tightened down. Okay, so that should be it for those, I hope. Okay, so this box should be ready to go into the car now. So I guess that's our next step.